on. Oh, Zoom has this thing now when a little voice comes on saying, "Oh, recording in progress."
Right.
Well, it's lovely to be having this conversation with you, Alan, across the time zones. Across
Right.
the time zones. Um, and our paths actually have physically crossed once back in 2015 at the AATH conference in Philadelphia. Um,
Mm.
and it's the only one of those conferences I've been to so far. Um,
Right. And
uh,
maybe we should say what AATH is.
I expect. Well, are you a co-founder of it by any chance?
I am not. I'm a former president.
Oh, good. So
And,
you can give us
and
the full title then, Alan.
okay, I can do that. Do you want that right now?
Let's do it now.
Now, AATH is for the Association for Applied and Therapeutic Humor.
Ah. And that has been quite a thread through your, well, really through almost all your life, has it not?
It has. Yes, it has. I was just thinking I was a very serious child. So
Uh,
maybe not all through my life, but most of my life.
yes. And you are, of course, a prodigious author, a much loved author too. I would like to add. Um,
Thank you.
uh, and you've written sort of 8 books on on humor, positivity, and happiness, and you've also edited a number of others. Um, uh,
Great.
and your latest book is The Awe Factor. Do you happen to have a copy of it handy?
Guess what? I'm so glad you asked because I happen to have a copy right here. There it is. I should.
Yes, fantastic. And you're also one of the books that you sort of edited is The Art of Living Joyfully, which we chatted about. And you just describe yourself as a jollytologist. Um,
Right. So do you want to know what that is?
well, yes,
Here's,
please, Alan.
well, here's an example. um, well, I actually went, Joe, I went to school. I went to graduate school to get a master's degree. And my thesis was the therapeutic humor.
Oh, yes.
And so in Greek, the word laughter is gelos, Gelos.
Yeah.
And so I would start calling myself a Jollytologist, but people didn't know what that was. They thought I made that wiggly dessert,
Yes.
Jello. So I changed it to Jollytologist.
Very nice.
And that really stuck. Other people have become joyologists,
Yeah.
happyologists,
Yeah.
enthusiologists, and
Yeah.
but I was the first and only Jollytologist.
Oh, fantastic. um, Now, as you know, in these conversations, there are the two sort of basic questions that are absolutely sort of right at the heart of everything you've been doing almost all your life. And question number one, of course, is what is joy? What is joy to you, Alan? What does joy mean to you?
Well, I knew you were going to ask that, so I looked it up in the dictionary. Um, and I also thought about, what is the difference between joy and happiness?
Yes.
So, first of all, joy is a 3-letter word that rhymes with oh boy. uh, and actually, joy probably has this oh boy kind of feeling to it that it's for me, it is an attitude towards the world that everything is all right most of the time.
Yeah.
An example, when I was thinking about joy, I thought about, I had an aunt who was divorced. She was raising two kids. It was during the war. She worked at some factory, and she, she was struggling, I guess, with money and raising the kids and working full time. And yet looking back, she was probably one of the most joyous people that I knew, that she would not only laugh a lot, but she would help so many other people. We
Oh,
lived in an apartment building, and if somebody was pregnant, immediately she would get out the wool and the needles, knitting needles, to make a sweater or a blanket.
oh,
If it
very
was
nice.
somebody's birthday, she would go and make cookies to bring to them. And so
Very,
I realized joy was something she like carried with her, that she got great joy in helping other people.
yes, I know that was running through my mind as you were speaking. Then you see and I wondered if you'd sort of make that sort of um, you'd articulate that link between sort of joy and service and doing things to help others. Um, um,
Yeah.
uh,
And then, too, I looked at in my own mind what was happiness,
yeah,
because they're very related. And I realized that happiness was kind of an outside thing, that something makes
yeah,
us happy,
yeah, yeah,
and that joy is more of our own making our own happiness, in a sense.
yeah,
You
lovely.
know,
Yes,
when I think of my aunt, she made her own happiness in spite of what she was going through.
yes.
And so for me, that is joy, having this attitude towards the world, that you can create your own happiness no matter what happens.
Yes, yes, yeah. Um, and just before coming on to the second question, um, which is no, how important is it to you? Because I suspect we'll kind of answer that in transit. What connection do you see or do you feel between joy and awe? Because your latest book is the awe factor. Um,
Mm.
what overlap or what links do you see between those two, Alan?
Well, I think when we find something that brings us awe, when we have those awe moments, it's very connected to being grateful for the stuff around us, rather than focusing on the negative. We're looking at, we're looking inside a tulip and are amazed at the color and the shape, and
Yeah,
suddenly we have this moment of awe, maybe fleeting, but it's there. And I think that's very connected, that it's joy. We're have just found something in our life that is bringing joy to us, and that connects to that moment in our life, or a being in
yeah.
our life, that uplifts us.
Yes, yes. And lovely that you use the example of a tulip. It's a flower because it's just in some ways it's just a flower, but my goodness me, when you look at a flower, when you look at it, you know, um,
Right. And
um,
and
uh,
just a flower, but a couple of years ago I was in Amsterdam,
oh yeah,
the world's greatest collection of flowers. And we went to this park, Joe, that had planted 7 million tulips. And speaking about awe and joy, it was the moment I walked in the gate. We were there for hours. Every turn, every place I looked, I was just filled with joy and awe, because the colors, the shapes, they were just, in the way they were planted in different patterns. Um,
oh,
it just, it
absolutely
didn't stop. The
amazing.
joy didn't stop. It was amazing.
Wow, wow. Um,
Yeah.
uh, um, you sort of kind of touched on everything you're saying touches on the next question, which of course is how important is it to you? How important is it to you, Alan?
Oh, well, I think I may have already answered that. It's like, you know, we're only, this is a cliche, and you've heard it many times, that we only, supposedly, we don't know, live here once, right? You're only alive once.
Yeah.
And you know how I ask myself often, am I going to let this little thing bother me, stress me out? No. So I'm reaching for joy all the time when that happens. I don't, you
Yeah.
know, things, yes, I do need to take care of certain serious things, but do I really need to be serious all the time? If I'm only going to be here once, I want it to be as joyful as I can every single moment of the day. I want to bring joy
Fantastic.
to other people, you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
and I've seen that over and over, how we could all light up other people and bring joy to them. And what happens is it brings joy to us. One example I can give you is a
Please.
couple of years ago, beginning of the year, January 1st, I decided every single day of the year, I'm going to write an email, a note, or send a card if people don't have emails, telling that one person for that day how much they meant in my life, how much joy they brought into my life. I
That's
did
so
that every
lovely.
single day. And what I found, though, what amazed me, and I didn't expect this, people would write back to me or call me and say, Alan, you didn't know how much that note meant to me today. I really needed that. And do you know that, you know, you're the one that's really brought so much joy in my life? And so
That's
it was just
incredibly moving,
amazing.
Alan.
Yeah, it was an amazing, and I invite any of your listeners to take it. And you don't have to wait till the first of the year. Just start every day. And you know what? I thought I'm going to run out of people to acknowledge of how much they meant in my life, because it was getting like November, and I was thinking, I may not have enough people. Every day I thought of someone else, and it could have been way in the past, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
It could have been someone I met at the supermarket just that day, but it would just continue throughout my year. And I'll tell you, it was an incredibly joyful year for me.
That is such a fantastic idea. I I am going to start doing that. Um,
Great,
uh, my year might start this coming Monday, Alan.
great, perfect. All right, I love it.
um, um, uh, I'm really moved, and I'm sure others will be really moved by that. Um,
Good.
because it's again, it's one of these simple things, one of these small things, um, uh, and it's the kind of thing that doesn't necessarily take very much time, but the impact, you know, and what it generates, and the connection, and the memory, and the good vibes, and the joy, and everything. It's such a lovely idea, Alan. Thank you.
Yeah, and you say it doesn't take a lot of time. You know, I basically composed an email, and then I filled in the details of that person, you know, why I thought um, they totally changed my life, or what they meant in my life. So it was personalized, but the
Yeah.
basic email was there, and I just had to fill in the blank.
So lovely. Because again, this touches on something that I know has been a really important part of your Jollytologist life, certainly, and that is choosing to use sort of humour and good vibes and positivity as a way of dealing with the stuff of life. You know, the drama and the seriousness and
Yeah, and we
the pain
always
and the
have
hurt
that
and the loss.
choice.
What?
Yeah.
Um,
We always have that choice, you know. We are, and I think maybe that's what joy is you have that choice of are you going to be joyful today, or are you going to be hateful and unhappy and find fault with everything, or are you going to see the joy in everything, the awe in everything,
yes.
which might bring joy to you?
Yes, I'm going to just quote you one of your quotes, Alan. I did a bit of research before our conversation. It actually refers to humor rather than joy, but you said humor does not diminish the pain, it makes the space around it get bigger. And I thought that was a really inspiring message to give, because sometimes, you know, when we are right in the thick of something very difficult, you know, if it's a difficult thing, it is a difficult thing. But what you point out in that quotation of yours, in that saying of yours, is that just because we're in the middle of that really difficult thing, we can put our attention outside it, you know, just find something else in it, and it makes the overall space bigger. I thought that was a very insightful comment, Alan.
Yeah, and there's always, you know, there's always the positive and negative, the yin and the yang.
Yes.
And it's really, what are we focusing on?
Yes.
You know? And I think that's where joy comes in, to bring it back to joy is, are you focusing on the joy things in your life, in the world? Or are you focusing on the not so joyous things?
Yeah.
Your choice. Yeah.
Alan, it's been absolutely fantastic having this conversation with you. I've kind of mentally, I've made myself a note that I will definitely get across the pond sooner rather than later to one of the next AATH. Do you want to remind people what AATH is?
Oh, yeah. AATH is the Association for Applied and Therapeutic Humor. Great conference. It's for people in the humor field, but not only that, it's for people that maybe have some illness that they want to, again, put in the background and get a little more joy in their life. A lot of nurses, doctors, therapists, clergy, anyone who wants to get more humor or find out more about how humor could help them live happier, healthier, and more joyful.
Yes. On that note, Alan, I really look forward to seeing you in person, in real life, again sooner rather than later.
That'd be great, Joe. Look forward to it.
Thank you very much indeed, Alan.
Thank you.